Welcome back.
Welcome to the TAE Time Podcast.
Y'all know what time it is.
As you can see, I'm feeling better. I am feeling better. Nicoletta's still feeling shit. Nearly like 3 weeks in a row.
This is my second week. Firstly.
No, because you were sick 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't bad. Last week was bad. Then this week is So
no, I wasn't sick 2 weeks ago.
You were. Anyway, don't mind her. Don't mean shit.
Recall.
Anyway, we're recovering. Went to the gym today. Nicoletta didn't go.
He literally just said, "Oh, and Nicoletta's still feeling crap," and then he proceeds to say, "She didn't go gym today."
Yeah, well, I just wanted to feel like
side eye.
Like, side eye. You can't say that side eye. That's cultural appropriation. Anyway,
everyone's doing a side eye trend.
Cultural appropriation. Black people started it. Anyway, yeah. If you say side eye and you're white, that's cultural appropriation.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for real. The person who decided that trend was black. It was So yeah.
The sound. But side eye has been a thing
for black people
for a long time.
Yeah, for black people.
It's been an emoji for a long time.
It has brown eyes because it's from black people. Okay.
Not the brown eye.
In Black History Month in America, during American Black History Month, Nicola's really doing like this. Anyway.
Oh, I didn't make the emoji. I didn't.
It's not about everyone knows it's not about the emojis, it's about what she's saying. But okay.
Oh, side
during
eye.
American Black History Month. Anyway.
Do you know the show that I watch, basically Besties?
Yeah.
They do a side eye of the week.
Yeah.
In every single episode.
You think, and they're doing it during February, during American Black History Month.
I mean, the daughter's half.
Yeah. She can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, today, let's cut it short because we've been wasting enough of your time. We don't mind Nicoletta's coughing, by the way. It's just going to be there.
I'm going to try to not make it as annoying.
Yeah. And I'm not cutting out, so you guys are just going to have to deal with it because we'll be chatting anyway. But as I was saying, we are bringing on the long-awaited femininity topic.
Ooh, and about time.
Does this make you less of a woman? That's what the title's going to be.
Oh,
it was this title for the man was, does this make you less of a man?
I know, but it sounds worse when you're putting it, does this make you less of a woman?
Oh. They're already starting off with some sexism.
They're gonna jump on
right
you.
off the bat. But no, you can't attack me because this isn't
I'm
about
not attacking you.
Bashing men. This
I
is
just
about
said
talking
women
about
are gonna come after you. I didn't say anything.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so
I see you're already bringing on your defense. Let's relax a little bit.
Saying, but
enjoy the episode.
Let's start with it. There is this whole thing, kind of like how we started with the last episode with the whole idea of plates. If you can't afford the plate, then you can't take care of kids, whatever bullshit statement.
Take you on a date.
So it's about, how about the reverse? Kind of like the situation of like how men talk about women don't bring anything to the table. We're talking about the table analogy here, where it's like women come to this table, the table's prepared, the guy is bringing them money, protection, XYZ, blah, 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 blah. And women are just bringing their physicality, whether it's their looks, sex, so on and so forth. And women aren't offering anything besides that. What do you as a woman view that ideology as? Like, do you believe that women aren't bringing anything to the table?
No.
Obviously, I know you don't believe that.
And I don't. Your question's already gone too far.
Once again,
what do they bring to the table? Nothing is what you're asking.
No. Once again, talk from a woman perspective, from your feminine side.
Obviously,
as to
I disagree.
What you believe.
I disagree with that statement, and I think a lot of the times, like, women do a lot of things for men as well. They just don't put it out on like line and stuff as much.
Okay, elaborate. What do they do?
I think a lot of the times, a lot of women do a lot of their, the romantic things that they ask for back. They like set cute little dates for their partners or
once
like
again,
whatever.
We're not talking about partnership. We're talking about.
But that's bringing it to the table.
No, we're talking about first date. The whole idea.
Whose table is this?
Like, we're talking about first date. The same way we said that if he can't take you out on a nice date, a dinner date, and pay for it, then how do you expect him to take care of kids? So what is a woman bringing to the table on the first date? Respectfully.
But respectfully, if a man is only bringing his check, like his card for the first date, that's not enough bringing to the table.
Well, the idea is that not only is he going to be paying for everything, he's the one that's setting up where you're going to go. Most of the time, he's going to be the one that's deciding. Like, he has to do, essentially the idea is the man has to court the woman and then do everything to follow up on that courtship to then secure the woman. Whereas all the woman has to do there is sit there and look pretty.
Who said that?
I'm asking you.
Was that your personal experience?
Obviously, anyone who watches this show knows how I am. Like, I don't believe this. But I'm trying to... Okay. We're trying to get all aspects out here.
Well, I don't believe this either. Because I'm taking it from my
So from a woman's
friends,
perspective, what do you say... Like, from a woman's perspective, what do you say a woman... Like, on that first date, the guy, as we said, a guy is courting the woman. He's the one trying to get the woman to like him. Then also... saying let's go on a date, deciding where they're going to go, then taking her, maybe driving her there, maybe picking her up. This is so unfair, maybe paying for it. Because what is a woman doing in that regard? You're
assuming all these things happen and assuming the woman's doing nothing, right?
Well, in the majority of scenarios, it is the guy.
I could say, the woman might have suggested places. The woman might have brought an interesting conversation to the table. The woman might have been, funny on the date. She might have even offered to pay for the check. And you're just being like, well, he's doing this. What's she doing? And I think it's just a case by case basis. You can't say, what's this person bringing to the table? What's this person bringing to the table? Because if someone, like, say, did something, it might not be something worthy of bringing to the table for someone else. So I don't think it's even fair to discuss that.
Okay, and even if they were both, let's say, quote unquote, in a situation where they decide, let's say, equal events of courtship, whatever, so on and so forth, but then it comes down to paying, and if the guy pays for the bill, does that not mean that he's the one that pretty much sponsored the entire date? And like the woman did nothing then from that perspective?
How
financially?
How did she do nothing? Yeah, financially but like, she did a lot of other things, right? Contributing to the conversation, giving, like, making sure that he's having a good time as well. That's not, no. Showing up is not good enough. It could be a really crappy date. Yeah. She could be awkward, not talking to you, not feeling the vibe. But if she is and she's giving it her all, then I think that's okay, fair.
But then women can also not show up. Like, they could show up and, as you said, be awkward, be crappy, be shitty, but then still expect the man to pay.
Yeah, and they could expect that.
And what do you
I think that's crappy on their side, and it shouldn't do that. I think decent human beings shouldn't be doing that to other people. So I don't understand your point. You're trying to get at something here that's
I'm literally just getting having a discussion about this.
Yeah, I know, but like, okay, you're just talking about like, human decency.
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, I'm not going to support that.
Because it's kind of like the whole idea of like, it's like women expect men to pay for dates, right? But they don't really, like, once again, on the actual date, besides like the guy paying, like the discussion aspect, they're not doing anything, quote unquote, for the table.
That's such a stupid argument.
It is a stupid argument.
That is so
absolutely
stupid. It's like saying, like, how are you going to say, other than showing up, she does nothing? When
and obviously,
the whole point is the date and the experience, not the check. That's not the point.
Yes, the date and the experience does matter more. And once again, this is one of those things.
Like, if I paid as a female, I'm going to be like, well, he brought nothing to the table. Well, no, maybe you made me laugh. You made me have a good time. You made me want to see you again. And I'm like, you know what? Let me treat this guy to this date.
Yeah.
And you could have brought a lot to the table.
Once again, it's hard for me to defend a point that I don't actually believe in. Obviously, that is one thing that is admittedly clear here. But at the same, like, it's easy to play devil's advocate when you can understand it from that perspective, but it's hard to play devil's advocate when I can't see the full picture. But obviously, like, I'm still trying to be out there for the boys who are complaining that women aren't bringing shit to the table, besides the fact of, like, even forget first dates or whatever. Like, we can expand now further on, like, guys who are like, okay, I have money, I start dating a woman, I'm paying for all her things, I'm taking care of her, I'm being the provider. That, let's talk about the provider argument, and all she's doing is there, like, maybe she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, maybe she wants to just be there and look pretty, get her nails done, use all my money, and I'm providing for her, and that's all needed. Like, all those Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, they preach this essentially, that the woman does nothing and the guy is the one that has to be a high value man to secure women. And so
I think
and so
literally
forth.
The whole problem with this whole conversation is that, like, you're just putting everyone into the same box.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is the same. They're all the same. And just because maybe you, like, attract a certain type of woman because that's who you're interested in, maybe start looking outside of your box, like, start looking for other females, because I guarantee you that not all females are like this. Like, literally all my friends that I know and that I talk to and about their experiences, they're they sound like decent human beings. They're doing the most out there, you know, even offering to pay and everything. And I don't think it's fair to categorize them as, well, they're all the same. They just bring nothing to the table. That's so unfair. And if that's the thing, if a woman wants to sit at home, be a stay-at-home mom, you know, get all her nails and whatever, like we've always discussed on this podcast, it should be agreed upon by both people. Sit down, talk about what you want from this relationship, what you don't want, and your expectations of the other person, and then take it from there. I don't think, how are you going to bash women that you've never talked to because you're like, oh, she's like the others? You don't know that.
Well, the idea that stems behind it is because you have all these young men, lots of men who want to date a lot of these women, but women don't give them the time of the day because they don't have money. Like, let's be honest, you see, and obviously, like, there is something to be said about what you see on the internet is not what's in reality. Like, you know, like, get off the fucking internet. But like
chronically
the
online.
idea being chronically online, that a lot of women let's take it from the chronically online aspect, where let's say I'm a young man, I'm constantly getting fed videos of women saying that, oh, if he's not taking me on, if he's not paying for the first date, you ain't shit. If you're not making 100K, 6 figures, if you're not shit. If you can't take care of my lifestyle, you're not shit. So from a young man's perspective, he's looking at it being like, yo, all these women, all 99% of women I see online are constantly telling me that I'm not shit unless I'm paying for everything for them. So he's just like, so what the fuck are you? You guys are just essentially objects. They start seeing them as
crazy
objects.
Because,
you know,
then this is the same guy who sees all these women and expects 99% of the women around him to be as attractive as the ones online, and they're like, where are all the attractive women? So it's the same thing. You have a pool of people online speaking all these things, and you're going to be like, oh, that's how all women are. And then you're going to be like, oh, this is how attractive women are. And you look outside the box and they're not the same. So why is it not the same thing? Why can't you get outside of the...
But then how about even the quote-unquote ugly girls who are or not as attractive girls who are still giving the same energy that they meet in their life? Because like the idea is like all these boys are going to the club and they're all 20-something-year-olds, right? They're seeing all these other 20-year-old, something-year-old women not be interested in them at all, and looking at all these grown-ass 30-year-old guys who have a lot of money, and they're being attracted to that. So they're looking like, I need to be like those guys to get women I want, right? And then women, and then quote unquote, fast forward, that guy becomes 30. He's acting that way. He has money now. He's doing that. All the 20-something-year-olds are there. And then the girls who were 20-something at the time, who were with those guys, who are now 30-something, are then going like, oh, giving out to him, being like, why are you attracted to a 20-something-year-old woman and not us? Why don't you want to settle down with me? But he's like, well, fuck you. When I wanted to settle down with you, you were fucking all these older men, but you weren't here with me. And now it's my turn. What do you think about that situation?
I think even you know that's absolute bullshit. You struggle to get that sentence out of you. Like,
but what do you think of that scenario?
That is a chronically online take, because you might...
Well, I don't know about chronically online. I can definitely say that there are a lot of young men who do feel that way. Like, as in, like, let's be honest, a lot of guys who go out to the club don't get that attention because they don't have the money.
I agree. And because I was just about to say, like, it's a chronically online take that's experienced, like, somewhat in person, but not like really, because you go to the club and there's like a specific type of person in the club to begin with, you know, and it's not like... First of all, it's not even the type of woman that they want to like marry. Why are they mad? Because they don't want to sleep with them, right? That's the only reason they're not getting the...
Well, once again, they're not getting
of attention.
They're not getting a chance with this woman at all, period. Sleep, court, whatever. They're not getting a chance because this woman only wants money and she's looking at the big ballers. He's not part of that.
First of all, there's nothing wrong with what women want, okay? Women can want whatever they want. But I'm guaranteeing you that not every single girl in the club is looking for that.
Absolutely agree. But then how about when those women now get older and they're saying, fuck you, why aren't you looking at me? Even though when they were younger, they were just messing around.
That's such cap. I've never heard a man say that in their 30s. Like, other than online. Like, people that I know in, like, person, they're not here being like... Like, women are giving out to me because I'm looking at 20-year-olds. Like, they're not doing that. And I don't really hear women say that about men in their day-to-day lives either.
It's chronically online take.
Like, at the end of the day, like, a woman can be attractive at 20, at 30, at 40, at whatever age. I completely understand that women, like, you know, 20 to 30, mid-30s, whatever, probably are the most fertile, the most, like, biologically attractive, whatever. And I can look at a 20-year-old and be like, that's an attractive 20-year-old, you know? But it doesn't mean that, like, you know, like, men should be like, oh, like only attracted to them, or
well, they're the only one. They're
people.
It's kind of like a revenge kind of thing where it's like,
Oh
you know,
my
like
God, that's
fuck
so
you.
sad.
It's like that girl who's now 30 and wants you. You're like, fuck you. When I was 25, you didn't want me. Well, now that I got my money up, fuck you.
And you know what? I bet that feels good.
It definitely feels good.
I bet that feels really good. And I think he's in the right to do that. If his whole life he was not getting the attention that he wanted, because there are 20-year-olds getting plenty of attention, men, plenty of attention, who look really good, really buff guys. Like, you're a part of the problem, okay? You're creating a problem for other men because you're an attractive guy going out, you know, you're like built, tall guy that girls are going for. They're not going for the schmucks around. And it's like, oh, like, can't wait to be like them, right? And it's like, well, you're in the same age pool.
Well, once again, like, I think the guys who are like 30 are getting more because they have their money up. Like, but obviously, like, you have the young guys who do have their money up who are getting all the attention. Like,
you have them too.
It's more. I think it's more of a thing to do with monetary wealth than it has to do with attractiveness. To be honest, you know.
But then again, like, if a guy comes up at me in the in the club, it's just physical appearance that I have. I don't know how much he has in his bank account.
Yeah, no. But the idea is, like, I guess in Ireland we don't really see it, but like in like London and New York, all those places you have bottles. You know, like the guys are buying bottles and bottles. They got all that, you know.
Let me tell you,
and the women are like, "Oh my God, give me some free drink."
Let me tell you, I was in Milan with my girlfriends recently, and these guys like had to get in. They had to buy a table and buy a bottle. We paid for our share of the bottle. They were all
you got bums though. Let's be honest.
They were all young, like 20-year-olds. It's not just the older men.
Yeah, you got bums though. Like,
let's be
honest. Let's be honest. Those are bums. Like, could you imagine inviting girls to the table and telling them to pay? Jeez.
Yeah, you pay your share, and then you had to fight to get. Like, it was sad. But they were kids.
Yeah. Anyway, following up from that whole thing, it's really hard to like push that when like I don't really fully believe in it.
Push the agenda.
But, push the agenda. But these things I can actually quickly talk about. So, what does it mean to be feminine? Like,
to me.
Like, yeah, what is your observation of what it is to be feminine?
I think, like, I specified to me because I think being feminine means different things to a lot of different women, right? It's kind of even hard because I don't think I even have a take on what it is to be feminine. I think for me, it's just like just being myself, you know? Like just being you. Yeah, just like, being allowed. Like, being allowed to be me.
Would you call yourself as a feminine person? Like,
but what makes a feminine person a feminine person?
That's what I'm asking you. Like, what does it mean for you to be feminine? Like, you know, like as they said, like I said in the last episode, for masculine, it means to be like quote unquote assertive, to be a leader, to be XYZ.
So I guess we're taking like in the world, like
so like what do you like? What do you believe about the definition of what it is to be feminine, and how do you view it?
So I look at the world and this is what I see. I think it's kind of like, you know, the female who's taking care of her appearance. You know, whether it be her hair, her nails done, getting her tan or whatever, you know, taking care of her body, especially if they're into fitness and whatever. Someone who's kind of soft and emotional and is capable of understanding emotions. But also these days I'm seeing a lot of, you know, the kind of like more leadership kind of traits being attached to being like a woman. And it's, you know, it's kind of like it's starting to become a mix of two, but I guess it's like this is what you see in the world and you're like identifying as feminine, the things that they do, you know, and being able to be nurturing and like raising kids, taking care of like, I guess not taking care of the household is not really like feminine. It's just
I guess kind of like on that, like, would you consider femininity to be like inherently a woman thing, or would you think it's something that both sexes or genders can have and be like okay, and like anyone can be feminine, right? Yeah. But then women are more likely to be feminine due to they have more like feminine traits, or do you think femininity isn't exclusive to any gender that exists? It's just anyone.
I don't think it's exclusive, but I think from a young age it's heavily pushed on kids. Like, you know, I think that males and females especially depends where you're from, really, they're raised very differently, you know. I think you had a lot more tough love growing up than I did. I had a lot more like nurturing, like, are you okay, like, this is how a lady behaves, and like I've always heard these type of things, you know,
lady behavior.
Yeah, well, it's in Romanian,
but like similar. No, absolutely. But like, once again, like, I guess that, and that kind of feeds into the like, how is the Romanian household like built your whole feminine identity and the whole idea, because like it's like, okay, as you're saying, it's nurturing, so on and so forth, but like, can't a man be more nurturing? Anyone can be nurturing.
No.
So how
no, where I'm from.
Talk about that.
It's an interesting one, because I'm looking at my examples of femininity around me growing up, and they've been very like heavily involved with household stuff, you know, raising kids, and the males were always like heavy labor, like my granddad, you know, both my granddads, very heavy labor and stuff like that. But then the females were working too and expected to do things around the house, right? And that was just a non-negotiable. It just was what it was.
Okay.
I think my dad, like, he kind of did more things around the house than a normal traditional type of guy would back there. But I guess that was kind of when we moved here. So maybe back there is a little bit different. But my mom, and her example of like, you know, a female, it was that she was able to do both, just juggle both and raise me.
Okay.
You know?
And for you, it's kind of like, I guess your mom had to do both the masculine and, like, we kind of talked about it, like masculine and feminine roles in your house.
Yeah.
But then how about societally? Like, do you feel like there is a pressure on women to be feminine, and like things like such a quote on like the female beauty standard, and like being a girl, being a girl, a pretty cute girl, you know, versus being like a tomboy, so on and so forth. And like, how has society shaped the idea of what you believe femininity is?
I think there is pressure. There's definitely pressure. And I'm thinking, where's the pressure coming from? Because a lot of the guys want those girls.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Why do you think that's like, the same?
I think because I like you look at the,
which is interesting, because I actually counted this point just to say it, like, so,
because I think like even if you're looking at most of the females that appear on your feed, right, and most of them that are blowing up and whatever, it's your general kind of stereotype of like you know, hourglass female with beautiful face and like hair and like well taken care of, and these are the kind of women who, you know, are desired or whatever. And I think even luckily growing up there was no Instagram or whatever, so the only comparison we had was to each other, like in school. But once it started, like, and you're looking at these like models and who's the representation out there for, you know, younger females, and it's kind of that is problematic. Yeah. But little me was little me. You know, I looked at these females, I was like, I don't look like that. I have body rolls, I have like this, you know. So then you start being like, oh, I shouldn't eat as much, you know, and like a 12-year-old shouldn't think like that. Yeah. You know? And
you believe that's due to men. Do you think
I don't think so. I think females push that too.
Because that's what I was gonna say. Like, I do disagree with the ideology that, once again, I'm just a man talking from my perspective. I don't believe the ideology that the patriarchy, quote unquote, pushes the female beauty standard. I believe it started with the patriarchy, quote unquote, as in the men kind of like had the whole idea of what if ideal women and women fought for it. I think what really set in stone is that, and I will always say this to everyone, women are women's biggest enemy. Like, don't get me wrong, men are a big fight, but after that, the biggest hardest fight women deal with is other women, because who really set that beauty standard and everything into place from my perspective is women. Because I saw that growing up, women always dogged on other women, being like, and that was whether it was for male validation, female validation, or validation in general, right? They would dog on other women, and women would be women's own biggest enemies. In my life, I've always seen of like them dogging each other, like, oh, you're ugly, you're this, you're not this, I'm that, and women would always fight each other. And then if you even talk about beauty standards, like, it's not guy, like yes, guys can be attracted to this, whatever. Let's be honest, guys will be attracted to anything with a fucking pulse, as long as they get given the chance. It might not be what they're following on Instagram, but put a guy in the club and he'll fucking take anything if every girl is running away from him, right?
But it's about like, we were talking about like desirability.
Obviously, but what I'm saying is in the sense of like, women are always the ones pushing the other, like women, like take the Kardashians, all these are trendsetters, big, they do all these to look this certain way, they do this to do this certain way, so other women emulate to try to be like them, or other women emulate to be like, try like to be like other women, and then other women dog other women for not being a certain way, and some women don't, not all obviously, will do the dogging, and then some people will upload each other, but they always do. I do truly believe that women do dog each other, and that's what keeps that cycle continuous. So for the female beauty standard.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Would you date a bigger woman?
If I found, like, you see, let me be honest, if you asked me when I was younger, I would be like, no, hell no, hell no. But as I've grown up, I'm like, if I had initially said, can perceive the person as attractive, that's key first. And then I like their like personality, I have no problem dating them. But obviously, they have to be my type first in the first place. Because there are bigger women that I perceive as good looking and attractive, and there are bigger women I don't, right? And that's just how it is. But I will never dog a person for being bigger.
Yeah, but you know? I don't think you'd date one.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you why this adds to my point. Because I don't know if this is where I was raised or whatever, but I was raised in a household where females around me were dogged by men. And they were like told that, oh, you're fat, you're big, you should lose weight, you look a certain way, why don't you look like this, right? Absolutely. And it's not something that I heard from other females going towards them. I agree what you said, like growing up, it's like you're tearing each other apart and like nitpicking over small things. But as you grow up, I think a lot of females have like a, why are we hating each other?
I don't know about that.
I know
we have close examples to us, even from parents' perspective, of other parents dogging other female parents. No, and we've also seen like, I'm not saying it stops or that it's non-existent. I'm saying that like even at me, and I look at my group of friends or whatever, and we're like, it's not like how it was when you were little. Like it's a lot less. I still think like that's the circle you keep kind of thing. Where and
it is, but that's the thing, because I think the world is starting to become more aware. Like you're seeing more campaigns of like bigger females, pushing like certain like products or whatever, and used as representation. You're seeing like people of color. You're seeing a lot more diversity out there, and I think everyone's waking up a little bit more. But I've still heard a lot of dogging from the men. Speaking about women,
like once again, maybe that's due to the area you come from. Was like, I feel like my perspective that I've seen is really been more from, like, funny enough, it was never from Africa. It was actually when I was in the West, right? Yeah. In Ireland, I saw that like other girls doing to each other, and even to this day, as I'm older, I've seen other girls. I've seen girls be nice to other girls in front of their face, and then be shitty. Say shitty things behind their backs.
Well, I've heard your own friends dog on women.
Oh, absolutely, and I agree that there are people do that. Like guys, I'm not saying guys are free from sin here, but I'm saying the biggest people I have seen as I have grown up personally in my life dog other women and push other women down have been other women. I always see that beef, and it's usually and I agree with you. I think it does stem from the idea of lots of women either wanting male validation, and other men are dogging women, and so they think it's that by dogging women their looks seen as better, maybe, or something, right?
Potentially.
But in the end of the day, like, the cycle will never stop unless the people who are being affected are the people who are also stopping it.
But that's what I'm saying, because it's like this kind of like wake up call for women to be there for each other. And I'm a huge advocate for speaking for women and standing up for women. And I think a lot of the times when I speak about it, I can get very like heated, and it can come across as like so aggressive. But it's like, we have torn each other up for so long.
And still doing it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. We've done it for so long, and just hating on each other. And it's like, you know what? Like, why are we still doing this? No, just stand up for other women. That's why I always say I will be like a girl's girl. Just kind of like protect each other, and not like dog each other down, like you said.
Like, take like a big example of like my case that happened recently was I think I showed you the news thing of like the Twitch streamers, where it was like all these girls were saying the best things about each other to their face, but then they had a whole group chat being like dogging each other down and saying like, she's so ugly, I want to let's take this girl down and stuff like that. And those were to other women in the same space they are sharing, which is very hard for other women to even succeed. Like female Twitch streamers do not get as much love as they should, right? Like, yes, they are big, and lots of guys love to say that, oh, they're just showing their body, that's what they get. Fuck that shit. But in a space in which you are competing actively for, you're also bringing down other women that are also trying to do the exact same thing as you. And like, that's why I said it's kind of mad. Like a lot of girls, like it's kind of like the whole thing of like, let's say in a big girl or quote unquote unattractive girl, you know, you always see women on the post like, oh my God, girl, you're so pretty. Oh my God, you're so this. But then like you talk to those same girls and they're like, oh yeah, she's shit. Like, you know, whatever like that. And being like, oh, I would never want to look like that. I want to look like the way I am and so on. Like, you know, because they think they're better. And it's kind of like I feel like a lot of women do advocate loudly on social media or so on and so forth for some things, but they don't follow through.
I don't know. I think, isn't that not just human nature though? Just to kind of like be like two-faced.
Yeah, exactly.
Be literally two-faced. But I think as long as like if you're keeping it in your like circle or whatever, saying it to someone, don't put your negativity out there. Don't just hurt someone with your words, you know? Just keep it to yourself. And you might see like them mischief shoes and be like, well, they're the nicest shoes ever. And then in your mind, be like, they're the ugliest effing shoes I've ever seen. Do you know what I mean? Like, just keep your negativity to yourself.
Okay, and then with that kind of talks to the idea of like, what is feminism to you then? Like, what is the idea of feminism is to you? You know, is it women empowering other women, equity, so on and so forth, all these kind of things? Like, because as you said, you're a girl's girl. So what do you find feminism to be more of? Like, one, would you call yourself a feminist? Two, would you say that feminism is something that you try to do in your day-to-day life? And three, like, what is your ideology around feminism, your views?
I don't know. Like, I think there's so much discussion around feminism these days and being like feminism, anti-feminism, feminism, and it's like, well, I agree with the old feminism, and like there's just so much being tossed around that you're like not even sure what to like follow, you know? Okay. I think for me it's just like the freedom for women to do whatever they want, really, to speak up, to be in positions of power, you know, and not just be disqualified because they're female. That's just not good enough, to be honest. Like, women should be given like equal opportunities for things. We should, you know, help to raise each other up a little bit rather than tear each other down. And I think, that's kind of like my take, really.
And do you believe, like, right now in this day and age that feminism is working and has been enacted, or do you think there's like still such a long way to go?
You know what? I think,
because the reason I ask this question is because like some people would be like, will say that women have, and this is something we're going to talk about, like, quote unquote, that because of everything that's come from the feminism movement and everything, that quote unquote, you know, women have it easier, or the feminism movement has helped them to get into certain positions, and now it's more like women trying to be on top. Like, what would you take to all those things and saying that?
Oh my God, I just don't think there's a win for women ever, and I think it's coming from both men and female. Like, I saw a girl on TikTok today be like, oh, this whole like agenda of feminism that women should strive for more. No, we're walking away from true femininity of staying at home, and something about the moon cycle and like all this stuff. And it's like, girl, let women do whatever they want. Like, let's stop trying to have so many different boxes, you know, where it's like, well, no, it should be this, it should be that, it should be this box, it should be this box. Like, I think there should just be the freedom for it to like mean whatever you want it to mean. You know what I mean? And like, if I'm a woman who wants to strive and work hard and, you know, be like a man in position of leadership, I should be allowed to do that. Like, why should I not want to do that? Because it's like, well, that's what the patriarchy wants you to think. Like, no, but that's what I want. I want to strive for that. And I think some people find it difficult to believe that other females would want that. Like, why would you want that? It's a man's world. Well, money makes the world go round. So whether you like it or not, you need
to make money somehow, some way.
So,
well, but then would you agree or disagree with the ideology that women have it easier in life in general? Like, forget quote unquote like pay, like getting jobs, so on and so forth. We're talking about just in your day-to-day life. Would you say women have it easier than men?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think they don't have an inherent advantage?
I think white females definitely have it easier.
Okay, so why? Why do you think
that? Because I just think there's still so much to undo like, you know, so much stereotypes.
So you believe there's a lot of privileged women?
I think there's a lot of privilege that white women have, for sure. I think I have a lot more privilege than...
So would you say that you would have, in your day-to-day life, you would have it easier going around than a white male or any other female as well?
Yeah.
So you think hierarchically, white women are probably like going through life, they're just sailing. Well, once again, not forget about workplaces. We're talking about your day-to-day sailing. You're just sailing through.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, not all women, like 100% not all women are having it easier. But I think it's like, even if you're raised from like a really struggling household, you probably find your way through life easier than a black girl being raised in a struggling household, right? So I think it's so unfair to be like, oh, females have it easier. Which females have it easier? Yeah. You know? And yeah, maybe if you're on the more attractive side or whatever, you pretty privileged, right? That comes into place as well. But I think in general, you know, like on the whole, as Rohit would say, like white females do have it easier going through life. Like even when Ro was talking about, you know, when he went with his girlfriend to India and how she was seen as like, oh, so pretty, and like, you know, there's so much like, there's a lot going on there about like, you know, the lighter skin tones and the better like, you are.
Essentially, like Indian women in India wouldn't be treated as well as a white woman in India.
Exactly. Which is, it's so messed up, right? Yeah. And I think it just kind of like stems from the West and the Western kind of like
way that they've pushed female beauty standards to be a pretty white.
Exactly.
Woman,
so I think like me as a white female, I definitely have it easy through life. Yeah. For sure. I think even the way like I get treated when I'm on the phone versus how you get treated, because when you're on the phone, they don't even know your skin color. But then in person, it's an even more different experience of like, when you're like, Nicoletta, you go talk. You know, like, you go talk to them. And then, like, it's a completely different experience that I have, you know, versus even some of my friends have, you know, which it's unfair as it is. But I think it would be so silly for me to be like, oh, it's not true. It's not happening. No, it is. Like it's literally happening. It's there, and it should be called out.
Absolutely. And then I guess kind of like close off on the whole femininity thing before you can ask me whatever questions is, what do you believe is some things that are still either impeding women, or do you think or femininity, what more can that encompass or should encompass, and so on, about the whole topic as a whole?
I think as we like kind of talked about it, I think females should stand for other females more. I think you definitely said a point there about like how females kind of stand in each other's way and still tear each other apart, and that's still happening. It's still going on. But even if you can be there for your close circle of people who I would assume you don't hate, you know, then you're doing your part at least. You know, stand up for other females, be there for each other, but then take the opportunity to educate people around you, like even males and females too, you know, because males can say some really messed up things sometimes. It's
absolutely.
Like, why did you say that? You know, call it out. Don't be like, he's just joking. No, because it's the same thing as like if someone's saying some racist shit in a room, call that out too. You know, don't let people just say whatever they want and, you know, and get away with it. If it's an opportunity for you to teach a lesson about it, do it. Take that opportunity. Don't, you know, be like aggressive. If you can, I know it's hard not to, but like if you can teach a lesson, then like take the opportunity to do it. So yeah, going forward.
And do you have any questions for me in relation to femininity? What
is your take on femininity?
Femininity? So my take is also unique to me because like my mom, like, you know, I grew up in a household like where I grew up from an African household. Like my mom was always taking care of us at home, but also my dad did take care of us as well, right? So I kind of have a unique perspective. And my mom has like been working since we were young as well. Like she used to work for DHL when I was back in Nigeria. You know, she's doing well in that job. She used to always come over to visit me and bring me stuff and all these things. And so like mom has been in my life, especially when I was younger. Like my mom was in my life a lot more than my dad, because my dad was busy, like quote unquote African mentality of like he was working it the whole time and always taking all his time working to bring money to the table for the whole family. So like my mom raised me, but my mom is always like, as emotional my mom is, and we butt heads a lot because my mom is emotional and I'm not emotional. One thing I do have to say that did help me for my mom is very strong-headed, as in she's stubborn and she like doesn't back down. Like too much so, because like if my mom sees something from her perspective, she will not change her mind, like no matter what. Like you have to physically fight her to like get her to change her perspective, right? But I got that from her, and I would say like my stubbornness, like, and all that stuff, like came, and which is very handy in the as they say in the world, to like kind of go up and down in the ladder and stuff like that. You know, like that stubbornness, you need that level of stubbornness. And my mom has been a very strong-willed woman, right? Like I feel like, as you said, like in your life, like femininity, like you saw around you was kind of like, oh, a woman in the house, like kind of doing whatever. But for me, femininity was like I had strong. Like I had like, and I think a lot of black holes have this. You have a lot of strong black women or African women who do a lot for their families, and they don't take no for an answer, and they don't take shit for their kids. You know, that's the one thing they don't budge on. And my mom has been like that. It's not like, or like, you know how you kind of have the idea of like a white mom. It's kind of like, oh my God, don't do that, and like very quiet and very like pale. My mom is loud and proud, right?
I love that.
You know, though. and so like. That's why I kind of said I've never really had that whole masculine feminine thing. Like, yes, it is true. Like, I see the different aspects. But my mom, as emotional as she is, I have to give her credit where it's due, where I see her being stubborn and standing up for what she wants, right? Like, yes, she will be more emotional. And I never inherited that side from her. Unfortunately. You know, unfortunately. I got my logical side from my dad. But I did get the whole idea of being stubborn. Because my dad is a lot more, like, rational and calm. Like, my dad is, like, if it's in a scenario where he's like fight, like unless he's really pissed off, right? And it's like fight, my dad is like, yo, calm down, let's assess the situation. But I'm very quick to like fight, because my mom is the same way. Yeah, like my mom is very quick to fight for and be defensive, and I'm the very same way, because I got that from her.
It's like, you know? She's beating you, go beat her back.
Yeah. Like a great example of when I was young, I was I'm talking like 4 or 5 years old. As a kid, there was this other girl who used to always like pick on me, like when I was in Nigeria, and used to bully me, and she would always pick on me. My mom would see him, my mom would get mad, right? And then one day my mom was just sick of it, and she said, Farouk, go and beat that girl. And I would go, like, she'll get me like this food I like, right? And so, like, you know, because that girl came to beat me. My mom was like, beat her back, you know? And so, and then like someone came, was like this, it's like, Mom Farouk, you're letting these kids fight. What are you doing? It's like, no, she's always beating Farouk, just taking it. Yeah. Let him fight back for himself. And, you know, because I was being very calm, like, kind of like with them, like, oh, whatever. But, you know, that kind of, and like, for me, femininity has never been a place of like being weak. I've never seen femininity as being weak, because my mom has always been strong. So I have no reason to ever see femininity as weak. But I think for other people, because like in their household, their mom were maybe quote unquote the weak and more meek person, they see femininity as being weak. But I never had that perspective.
Yeah, and I love that take so much, because I was literally thinking about it. We talked about it last time. You know, my mom was definitely a lot more like quiet and more like in her place almost. Yeah. But at the same time, she did everything. She did everything. She worked hard. She raised me, you know, by herself. So she did everything by herself, while being like, you know, like quiet and silent. And I definitely took that on. And I've always said this, and I'm grateful for you, having you, because you've made me a lot more stubborn. You know, you kind of created the monster that you have to deal with now. I did create the monster I have to deal with now. I know even your friends are like, oh, she's not chill like that. I'm like, well, I get it from him. So I don't know. But I will say, so this incident happened recently. I went to Milan with my friends, and my bag got lost, right? And my reaction was like, it is what it is. Like, I might get that bag back, or I might not, but I'm not going to let it destroy my holiday. It's chill. And that has kind of been my take, usually, of like, it is what it is. Yeah. Let me roam through life. But I know other people in that instance who would be like, yo, like, do something, like, you know, speak up, and like kind of get angry. And that they kind of get things more done. Like, something kind of gets done a little bit more there. And now in this scenario, I'm sure the bag would have been back at the same amount of time. Yeah. You know? But say it was a different scenario where, like, I wouldn't fight if, you know, like, I don't know, for something like maybe
they have my right to.
Yeah, that I have my right to. I'd just be like, it's fine, let me move on. But then you would go in and be like, yo, like, this is wrong. Like, I want my money back, or whatever. And I feel like my kind of like shy and quietness is not really helping. It's helping me be a lot more relaxed through life. Yeah. It's helping me not build up any negative energy, which is great. But I'm also like, I'm not really standing.
No, you're not getting the most of your dues.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I do feel like I did everything in my power. I call them every day and I'm like, yo, where's my bag? Do you have my bag? You don't have my bag? I'll call again tomorrow. And I got my bag back, obviously, and everything. But it was just realizing that I'm not gonna like fight for something like this. Maybe if it was like, I'm very different when someone says something messed up.
Yeah.
Like different views on life, but when it's about like materialistic things. Another question I have for you, the last question: are you a feminist?
Like, once again, for me, like, what does feminist mean? Right? I have no problem saying that. Yes, I'm a feminist. I do believe in like fighting for women and upholding women and trying to better the situation they're in, as long as it aligns with quote unquote like what I view feminism as. Like, maybe some people would be like, oh, because of the way I think when it comes to like equity for all kind of thing, they're like, oh, that's not what true feminism is. And once again, we kind of touched on this, like feminism is different things for different people, but like obviously based off my definition of what feminism is, I would say I'm a feminist. And like I say this to Nicola all the time, like we've had discussion that if we want have kids, I want a daughter, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing I always say to someone is I would never ever want my daughter to be in a situation that I wouldn't want that I wouldn't want for myself, right? And like, it is actually interesting enough, I saw something that talk about that men raise strong women, but they want their wife to be submissive, right? So they want their wife to be all listening and whatever, but they want their daughter to be like, you have to be aggressive and stuff like that. But I'm like, I would want my wife and my daughter to be like that. I don't want anyone in my life to be pushed over, whether it's my daughter or my son, right? I want them to fight for themselves and get the most out of everything, right? And that's why it's like, I could never say that, oh, I don't give a shit about female rights and whatever, because like, if you have a daughter in this world, are you saying you want her to be treated like shit like every other woman in your life has been, and you're fine with that? No. So like, it makes no sense. So like, I feel like if you truly care about any of the women in your life, there's no way you can't be a feminist. Like, obviously, like, I know people have issues with calling themselves a feminist because of, you have extremists, like, feminist extremists, or like who have completely skewed views, who are like more like about women over men and so on and so forth, and they kind of deal with like view that and be like, oh, I want to be that, because they're like, I don't stand for that. But obviously, like, there's extremists in everything, right? And that's why I said, for what your view of what feminism is, you can say you're a feminist, right? Like, that's why I would never say like, oh yeah, general, whatever. Like, I say I am a feminist based off the views of what I believe feminism is, right? It might not be what your view of feminism is, but it is my view. And it's like, if you have any women in your life, like a woman birthed you, like, and whether you have a good relationship with your mother or any other female in your life, I feel like that's enough of a reason for you to care and want the uplifting of other women. So
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Good job.
No worries.
Well, that's all I had for you. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah. Hope you.
It was a pretty chill discussion.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to fight. Like, once again, I was
ready to fight.
I'm not trying to fight. I'm just trying to get discussions points out here.
See, I'm just seen as aggressive because I'm standing up for women and women's rights. Anyways.
But yeah, no, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, the whole shebang.
Until next time.
Peace.